Hello, all my hypotheticals. It's PlayerTwo.
And I'm Star of Wisdom.
And boy, oh boy,
Pokemon.
do I have something to talk about.
And I've got another topic that I have for us. It's another thought experiment for all of your considerations. It's actually not an official thought experiment because it's something that I came up with off the top of my head.
All right, okay. We'll talk about your thought experiment.
So with this disclaimer, this thought experiment is first of all, so yes, it's not an official one, so I don't know the point of it. I don't know if it has a point. And I don't know if this exercise helps to prove or disprove anything. But essentially, you can consider a parallel reality, right?
Okay.
Where everything
I'm with you.
Is exactly the same. It's just 100% identical to our reality. And you can imagine some sort of a way that these two realities would come into contact with each other, where they would be able to view each other as through a mirror. So it's essentially like you're looking through a mirror, and on the other side of that mirror is the other reality. Or even better, there's like an in-between spot. Like you go through one side, and then your mirrored self from this parallel reality goes through their side at the exact same time, because again, everything is identical. And you're in this in-between spot, and you come up to the point where you're facing yourself from the parallel reality. How do you have a conversation with that?
So if everything... Well, here's my question first. If there's like this pocket dimension between the two mirror realities or whatever, does that pocket dimension follow the same rules?
Yes, it's basically like a buffer zone. It would be as though, like, we could just say that you're basically both standing in front of a mirror where you're on either side, but it's easier to imagine if instead of it being a mirror where on one side is our reality and the other side is the mirror reality, if there's like a void space in between, like just a blank white space where the exact same rules apply, where there is basically a line dividing right down the middle that is a giant mirror. I don't know. I just think it's easier to conceptualize if you don't have to worry about like clutter from the other world going around. Yeah. Because then you have stuff like, well, what's on the other side of the mirror on the other world? Anyway, it's just easier if there's like a void space to imagine this happening in.
Mm-hmm. Well, what makes you think that there would need to be any conversation? It seems like I and my reflection have the same thoughts.
Exactly.
So I don't think there's any need for communication. Our communication is just thinking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's impossible to communicate with this other side in any way, because anything that you would do to try to like set yourself on different, like, basically is like, how would you, I don't think it's possible in that situation to diverge these into no longer being parallel.
So question.
Yes.
What if you just walked around each other and then switched?
Then it doesn't matter, because you've both had the exact same experience. You've both walked the same way. You both walked to your own right. And now you are both... It doesn't matter which side you're on, because your experiences are still identical.
Okay. So in a reflection, though...
Yes.
In a reflection, everything's actually technically reversed.
Yes.
So if I put out my right hand, they'll put out their left hand.
Yep.
And if we walk around each other, and now I go...
Right. See, it doesn't work, because if everything is reversed, the actual direction is reversed too. So like, if you're looking straight ahead, let's say you're looking due north, to your right is east.
Yeah.
For the mirror side of things, because it's an exact mirror, east is actually the left.
West. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's not a flip, it's a reflection. So east is still east is to their left. Which, again, because for their entire... right is actually what we would say is their left. So if you say, hold up your right hand on the count of 3, you hold up your right hand, they hold up what you would call their left hand, but because it's a mirrored reality, it's actually their right hand.
Okay.
So, so if you're thinking about in a mirror, and you're looking at, like, just a normal mirror, not a mirrored reality, if you raise your right hand, it looks like if it was another person standing in front of you, they would be raising their left hand.
Right.
But in the mirror,
it's their right.
Yeah.
So technically, as you could communicate in terms of direction. Like if you manage to build a language based off of directional cues.
Wait a second, hang on. There's something really weird happening with the trainers in this grass.
Yeah.
Oh, and that's a wild end.
Yeah. No, as we're talking about the mirror thing, there's a group of people in the grass that will mirror your movement.
They're actually doing that right now.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
freaking me out. And I did encounter that
game,
Entei, by the way.
Yeah, but it's not a battle.
No.
So.
It's just wild.
You're gonna run. That hurt. Owie. Ran into a dugong that crit an aurora beam on my Swablu. That was scary. Okay.
So how would you suggest that you would be able to communicate with direction?
Okay, look. I'm not saying I have an idea as to how to do it. I'm just saying that seems to be the only thing in both of my mind and my reflection's mind that differs. If we started talking and we just like went hello, we would just be echoing each other like hello, and whatever. Or we wouldn't even be echoing. We'd just be saying things at the same time.
Yes, exactly.
But if we thought, okay, if I say raise your, or like, for example, I say raise your right hand or whatever, then he would be telling me to, because what I'm thinking is for him to raise his right hand, which would then be his left hand. He would be thinking raise your left hand, right? Because we're thinking the same thought at the same time, and we want to achieve the same thing, but directions are different. So you would, I don't know how you would do it at all, because I'm not going to spend that amount of time thinking about this while I'm battling a Hypno.
I don't think you can, though, because if you say raise your right hand, you're both going to raise your right hand. Like, you can't get one person to do the something different from the person. Because no matter who gives the direction for the other person to do something, your reflection is giving you the same direction to do something other than that. Right? Like, you can't tell your reflection, okay, I'm going to raise my right hand and you're going to raise your left hand, because they're going to be telling you the exact same thing. Yeah, no, that's not it.
It's that we would be saying things at the same time.
Yes.
And so, I guess in this scenario that I brought up, we'd both raise both of our hands.
Uh-huh.
Right. So there'd just be one that's delayed. So like where I raise my right hand, they raise their left hand, and then shortly after that, he'll raise his right hand in response to me, and I'll raise my left hand in response to him.
But you can't ever diverge to the point where there is that delay, because you're thinking things at the exact same second, because your experiences are identical.
No, the delay between the first hand and the second hand for both of us. Because if we're saying something at the same time, and we hear it at the same time...
Uh-huh. And you're thinking it at the exact same time.
Yeah, then we'll... Right. So I raise my right hand right as they raise their left hand, and then in response to each other, we raise each other's... the other hand. And so I think there's something in there that you can work with. I don't know what, because I'm not a smarty pants, but...
I don't think that there can be any delay, because... You're both thinking.
I don't think you're getting it, Dupes.
Okay. Yeah, I might be missing your point.
Yeah. I don't. Okay, so if we say, I'm not saying like there's a for sure way to form communication based off of this. I just think this is the only thing in which you will differ to some degree. In that we both have the thought to raise a hand, to tell the other person to raise a hand, and as we do it, we raise our own hand to show them which hand to raise. However, because the only difference between the reflection world and our world is directional input, if in my mind I form the thought as I raise my right hand to tell them to raise their right hand. At the same time, they will form an equal thought to tell me to raise my left hand as they raise their left hand.
No, directional inputs aren't different.
Why aren't they different?
Because to them, their left, like from what we would call left, is right. Like when you think.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Their thought will be different, but their thought will be the same, but their action will be different.
But it will still be a mirror to what you're doing. Because their left hand, or what they perceive as right, is still what we would call left.
Yes.
So, like, in a mirror, it would be the exact same thing that you would see happening in a mirror.
Right. So, my thing is, if I tell, let's just take a factor out for a second.
Okay.
And that there is a buffer, let's say. And if I tell my reflection, hey, raise your right hand, they will raise what I perceive to be their left hand, yes?
If you say raise your right hand, they would raise what you would perceive as their left, yes.
Okay, so as that thought is forming in my mind, their thought would be forming at the same time, in that they need to tell me to raise my left hand, because that will be their right hand.
So you're telling your reflection, raise your right hand.
Yeah, which would be their left.
It's their right.
It's their right, but from our perspective, it's their left.
Yes.
Okay. So then...
Or no, it's not their left. It's
would
our
also
left.
Be thinking,
our left is their right.
Okay. But in terms of directional input, they'd be raising what we perceive as their left hand, but that's their right hand.
Yep.
So then the thought that occurs in your brain is, this is the hand I want them to have raised. So when they go to say the conversation, or like start the conversation or the order, they will tell you to raise your left hand.
Raise your left hand. Yep. Which in their world would be their right.
No, because they'd be thinking in terms of your world too. As soon as you find one difference, it's gonna cause some sort of breakup somewhere. Where
I guess the fundamental principle is that there is no difference. It's just a reflection.
You just said, I mean, east is west and like west is east.
Yes,
and left is right and right is left.
Only because, so in a reflection, so if you're looking straight ahead, that's north.
Yeah.
When they're looking straight ahead, that's their north because of the reflection. And behind you both is your own south.
Yeah.
So then to your right and to that person's left is east. So if, okay, so let's say instead of right or left, let's both walk east. You're both going to walk in the same direction. Because it's reflected.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the thing is, so because we associate words with action, right? Technically, the thought that occurs isn't so much the words that are formulated that you would end up speaking. It's the action that you want to have seen done, and then your brain associates the action with what words need to come out of your brain.
Yes.
Or what words need to come out of your mouth. So, if we both essentially want to say walk east or like start walking east, there's going to be a difference in how our thoughts and how our actions are then translated. Dang it, that's not going to be effective.
I don't think so, because if you both know that east is a direction to your right,
yeah,
then you're both going to do the same thing as a reflection of each other.
But, okay, so in this reflective universe, their compass goes north, west, south, east.
Yes.
Okay, so east is the same direction.
Yes.
Okay. So then...
Because it's a reflection and not a flip.
Right.
Or not a rotation. It's not a rotation. That's a better way of explaining it.
So in that case, does the sun rise from a different point?
The sun rises in the east, which is, as far as what we would be perceiving, it would be our west. Or no, it would be our east. So yes, it raises in the same point in the east.
Raises in the same point.
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. I just think there's something there, but I don't know what. And I'm done with this conversation. We'll move on to something else.
Well, okay. So here's
It
my.
doesn't accomplish anything.
I know. Here's my theory. That's why I think it's an interesting thought experiment. Is like, basically, you can envision this in your mind. It's basically a conversation with yourself. It's like when you have a self conversation where you're talking yourself through a problem, for example. It's like that same exact idea of like whatever you think of, this other being would be thinking of it at the exact same time. Like you're not ever going to be able to gain any new information from your reflection. You know, you're both always going to be coming to the exact same conclusions at the exact same time and performing the exact same actions in response to the exact same prompts. Because, like, basically there's no way to convince your reflection to do a different action than you, because the second that you think, like, I'm going to just wait until they do something, they are also having the same thought to wait until you do something. And, like, there is no way to distinguish between the two. So my conclusion is that the only way that you would possibly be able to have some sort of distinction between yourself and this mirror dimension is to have some element of randomness introduced.
Okay.
But I don't even know if that would do it. Like if you said, okay, we're gonna flip. It doesn't work though, because you both flip a coin. Like there's two of everything that you would do, and everything happens the same. Like, I don't know. There would have to be some third party to break you. So, like, okay, let's say that I'm in this mirror dimension, and it would require some other thing that doesn't get reflected in order to diverge them. Essentially.
I mean, sure. But, like, I don't know. You know what? You know what I'm gonna do? If Swablu dies, it's essentially game over. So I'm gonna put all my, like, carbos and protein and stuff into it.
That makes sense.
I'll save that rare candy for a later level. Carbos, go Richie. Space speed, protein. Basitate.
So I think you can see why I started this thought experiment by saying I don't know what this proves, if anything. I don't think it does prove or disprove anything.
Yeah, that was just a big waste of time, Jupiter.
But there is something to it. It shows us something. Okay, my Meganium is burning up. 1 second. It shows us something, which is, I'm not fully sure of, but I think it suggests that given a copy of what you would do in a situation, the only way to change the outcome of that is to have a third-party intervention.
Yeah, but...
Sort of.
I mean, you can't get that.
Right, no, not in the... Right, so it's impossible. Is basically the conclusion.
So...
And so then, in our own life... Like, that can be applied backwards somehow, but I haven't figured that part of the thought experiment out yet.
Hey, Jupiter. So, I've got something here.
Okay.
Alright. So, I have a question for you.
Uh-huh.
Alright, figure out the answer.
Uh-huh.
That's it. That's what you sound like, you idiot.
Yes.
I hate you.
Yes. No, I mean, I'm not saying that there is an answer, which is why it might be a good thought experiment. The best thought experiments don't really have an answer.
Right. My point being is that the question wasn't worth asking, nor was it worth answering.
No, but it might be, because I think it does. I think it gives us an insight into, like, something. Okay, good. And this trumps what I was gonna say. How exactly? See, the thing is, my thing that I was gonna say that I might have said might have upset some people potentially, but at least it would have encouraged some sort of thought that wasn't irrelevant. No, this does have thought. It's a puzzle. Can you figure out any possible way to to diverge two identical parallel.
I like how
dimensions.
I was on track to something with the whole directional thing, and then you're like, no, that's not it. That's not it.
I think
what you need to do is do something that's impossible.
I
think
I explained it wrong. I think I explained it wrong because I wasn't meaning. I didn't mean to change any parts of it. I think I just explained it incorrectly with like what my initial conception was of how the mirror dimension works and how direction works. And I just don't think that there is any difference in direction in a mirror from your own perception. Because
it's not so much about thinking of your own perception, but trying to outthink what what the other person will do.
But
and
you can't
I think,
do that because they're thinking
they are. Not what the other person will do, as in like what they're thinking and then what they are going to do, but simply just thinking about what they will do in response to what you say. And the thing is, the problem with that is you just end up being stuck there for eternity.
Yes. Until you both decide to walk back into your own whatever. But yeah.
But I think the problem is with that, it's not a loop per se, nor is it like a back and forth, but because I think the moment you start to think about what the other person will do, you get stuck in a loop, because once you start thinking about what the other person will do, their thoughts about what they think you'll do end up affecting what you think they'll do, what you'll do, what they'll do, what you'll do, what they'll do, and then you just get stuck there. And I don't think you can leave at that point because you're constantly thinking about what the other person will do.
Well, but at any moment, you can decide that you're not willing to think about that anymore. Like it's the same way that I can be thinking in a loop and then just decide I'm done with this and like turn around and walk away.
But the thing is,
unless you're like that determined,
the premise of the reflective world is that whatever we do, they do, and whatever they do, we do.
Yes.
And if we're both thinking at the same time, what would this other person do? Then it's causing us to constantly think back, and I don't think there's room for us to think. I don't know. I don't think you can just turn off and be like, okay, I'm done with this conversation, because I think you're just stuck in a thought process where like the thought needs to be completed because the other person forced you to think that way, just like you forced them to think the other way. Once you begin that thought,
I guess maybe. I
so
don't.
Great.
I personally,
instead of having an answer, we just have an eternal punishment. We just have hell.
I personally think, hey, I've invented hell. No, I personally
ginger move.
I personally think that you would not be in that point because, okay, we can think of it as essentially having a conversation with a mirror version of yourself is basically the same as having a conversation with yourself in your own mind, right?
Yeah.
And there's no way that you would ever get stuck yourself in a loop with yourself of thought. Because eventually you just get bored.
Yeah.
And you just, like, drop it. Or you change the thought. Like, as it becomes clear that it's not working and not progressing.
Yeah, but it's not so much having a conversation with yourself. It's like having an echo of a conversation, or like a double.
Yes.
Like a dubbed over conversation with yourself.
Yeah.
And my point is that, like, your thought will... Your actions might always be the same as each other. Mm-hmm. But if you think in terms of directional input, and trying to think about what the other person will do, I think you do cause a divergence in thought process, at least to some degree, which then causes you to go on a loop. And maybe I'm wrong. There's no way to prove this. That's a problem.
I actually just realized there is actually a way to play out this exact scenario in reality, which is to set up a reversed camera. Oh, my egg is hatching finally. You can set up a reversed camera that's a mirror so that you're actually talking to yourself. And we know... Oh, God, it's a shuckle. Oh, yeah, let's nickname the shuckle. Oh, God. Basically, so yeah, we could set it up with, like, a reversed mirror where everything you say is getting reflected back at you. I mean, you could just have that conversation in a mirror, and it would never diverge, because we know that that's impossible. And in the same way, you would never get stuck in a loop.
So...
Shuckle. I can't decide on a name for this shuckle.
So what if you just started beating the crap out of each other? You know, you're throwing punches, throwing kicks, you know?
Uh-huh.
What, I mean, you just knock each other unconscious at the same time? Is that what happens? Alright.
Yeah, exactly. Because you're both doing the exact same action reflected. Yeah. Because, yeah, that's what I thought. Is like, when I was trying to figure this out in my mind, I was like, well, what if I just all of a sudden decided to throw a punch right in the other guy's face?
Yeah.
and then I was like, shoot, the exact second that occurs to me to do it, it occurs to them to do it. So if we do it, we both throw an exact same punch, like with the exact same force, and we both respond the exact same way. And so, yeah, it doesn't ultimately accomplish it. Like, it doesn't work to diverge. So...
Yeah, so I think what you gotta do is you gotta introduce a third element, and that's just impossible.
Right, it's impossible. It's impossible.
God,
but it proves something, that there's no way to diverge something, like, within yourself if you're trying to work through... I don't know. It says something about free will.
Question.
Yes.
If you have multiple personalities, and they have multiple personalities...
Yes.
Could you do something with that?
I don't think so, because anything that would cause you to, like, switch to another personality would happen at the exact same time for both of you, in response to the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Because it's the same idea as, like, if both of us walked through the void at the same time, and both of us were standing there with both of our mirrors in the same point, like, it doesn't work. If I point at your mirror self, then my mirror also points at you.
So, question. I mean, I'm pretty sure I know the answer, but let's just walk through the situation because it's fun, and because it's what I'm thinking about right now.
Okay.
If you and I walk through the mirror dimension at the same time, and our reflective selves walk through the mirror dimension at the same time, I'd be like, sweet, this is an opportunity to beat the crap out of Jupiter.
Yep.
And now my other self is like, this is a great opportunity to beat the crap out of Jupiter.
Yep.
And then, so, let's say we start a fight with each other.
Yes.
Let's just say, hypothetically, the Jupiters win. The Jupiters win.
Okay, that's not where I thought this example was going. I was
being nice.
I was pretty sure this example was going to go, so now, with this mirror dimension, 2 Jupiters have gotten the crap beaten out of it from 2 different sacks.
I wanted you to think in that way, but I'm also trying to also pose a question. So now there are 2 battered Jupiters standing over 2 unconscious Zacks.
Yes.
We'll just say. It's hypothetical. Now, somewhere in your mind, you're like, well, I mean, we're already close to unconscious. We might as well just... Wait a second. Okay, well, wait.
I lost you for a second. You cut out.
I wasn't really saying anything of substance anyway.
Okay.
So, but like, what if, so, if you had the thought, if a battered Jupiter had the thought, let's just end the life of, the Zack that's standing right over there. Would the other Jupiter then in turn think, would their thought process be, let's end the life of the other Zack? Or because this isn't really a reflective thing, you're pointing to an exact location as opposed to just like, hey, left or right or whatever.
But the second that you think of that, or the second that I think of that to point at that exact location, the mirror self is having that exact same thought and pointing at the other location. Like the second...
In which case, that's not reflective.
It is. The second that I'm raising my hand to point into the mirror, then my reflection is also raising its hand to point out of the mirror.
I don't know, Jupiter. I think I'm on to
I'm
something.
doing a hand motion. It's not working because there's no video.
Yeah.
But like
This
yeah, no, you picture yourself standing in front of a mirror, and I guess it's also important to note that because everything is exactly mirrored, both unconscious Zacks are both unconsciously mirrored each other still. Like the reflection hasn't broken there. They're still an exact mirror. I need to think of a name for this shuckle.
Do we want to end the video soon?
Probably.
Yeah, guys, I promise I'm not gonna let Jupiter start any of these. I'm gonna screen his ideas ahead of time. I'm real sorry for this.
I started this
episode.
by saying that it was probably pointless.
Okay, yeah.
I did have a disclaimer.
Yeah, I suppose you did. Also, just quick little thing that I should have said when it happened. Richie is finally an Altaria.
Nice.
I still need to get to like level 40 before I feel comfortable fighting Rayquaza, but
Yeah,
and
probably.
even then, I think Rayquaza could probably just two-shot me. So
It might be able to. Maybe if you give yourself like, I don't know, if a berry, like a citrus berry. I mean,
yeah,
that
guess who
doesn't
doesn't have
bind you.
access to
Yeah.
a citrus berry, Jupiter?
Do they sell them at the berry shop, or do you have to just find them?
I think you need to find them.
Okay, that's kind of what I thought.
Yeah, next video is just gonna be me getting Richie to be like level 40, and then it will be like episode 25. I will take on Norman again. That's the goal.
I have no idea what to name this shuckle. I've literally been sitting here for 5 minutes trying to pick a name for a shuckle that I'm never gonna use. I hate this shuckle so much. I don't know, maybe it has a crazy ability.
Yeah, would a Shuckle with a crazy ability still be worth putting on your team?
If it has like Wonder Guard,
It won't have Wonder Guard, it's banned.
it probably won't, yeah. What do I name this thing? Okay, we're naming it Tingle. That's a pretty fitting name for a shuckle.
Right, you've got Zelda theme, okay.
Yeah. Okay, Tingle. I'm gonna look at its
Oh, this
ability,
is-
and then I'll be good to end the episode. Because, yeah, I've worn myself out. It's got Limber. Yeah, nope. Screw you, Shuckle. Oh, gosh. Whose episode is this, even? This is yours, right?
It's mine,
Okay.
sadly. Yeah. For all of you, like, random viewers or whatever that just have stumbled across this channel and are like, hey, these guys are kind of fun. These guys, you know... I like
What
they're
about
doing.
that conversation wasn't fun? That was a great
Jupiter,
conversation.
Jupiter, both me and my reflection thought we could end it right here. We could just pull out our guns, just end it. It wouldn't even count as suicide. We'd just be killing each other. That's fine.
That's true.
Alright.
That actually works.
So you get charged with homicide for killing yourself?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you both get charged.
Yeah, we're both dead, and they're like, oh man, double homicide, suicide.
Okay. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, thank you guys. Catch us later on, I think it's episode 24, which will be on Star of Wisdom's channel. Everything should be back to a semi-regular schedule. Oh my gosh, I just turned around and a Rhyhorn sprung up. I didn't even move into a new piece of grass. I just turned. I moved. Alright, let me just kill this thing right here. Yeehaw, Steel Wing into your face. Level 21 Rhyhorn against a Altaria. You're dead. Okay, so if you want to come back for more philosophical conversation, don't, because we
It's
won't
not
be having
gonna
any more.
happen. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Don't come here for it.
All right.